So today I'm going to talk about advertising. How many people here are proud to work in advertising and marketing? Okay, that was more than I thought, actually, to be fair. How many of you at some point then have felt a disillusionment point in your career in regards to advertising and marketing? Yeah, cool. I've worked with people in this industry for a long time, and I've heard a lot of people say, I want to do something that makes a difference. I've heard a lot of people say, I want to do something that's a bit less soul-destroying. And I think this is to do with a lot of preconceptions of what society thinks of marketing and advertising. So you start thinking about things like this in the 70s. And more recently, how adverts are being portrayed on websites such as this. And we're either being kind of put into two buckets. We're the tricksters, we're the people that try to sell you things that you don't really need or sell you things that are going to harm you. Or we're the annoying people that keep shouting at you when you want to just try and get something done. So yeah, we're kind of been put into those categories, and I think after a while it starts to take its toll. But I think we can all agree that advertising, especially in the digital landscape, is becoming ever more important and prominent, especially with some of the models that you can clearly see from the big guys, and trying to get to monetize things as much as possible so they can get you to advertise through their services. So we can't avoid it. Does this mean that our souls are forever doomed into the fires of hell? Or can we actually advertise with a clear conscience? I actually think we can, and I'll try to explain why. If you're familiar with some of my talks, I tend to go quite broad and try to kind of capture this sort of feeling within it. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing here. So I hope I can keep you on track. So here we go. I've recently been reading via audiobook Carl Sagan's Cosmos through a recommendation of my friend. I'm not necessarily someone that's really interested in astronomy, but I've kind of took two real important nuggets from it that I'm going to try and connect with what we're saying here. Okay. So the first one was perspective. So Carl talks a lot about the size, just the vastness of the universe as a whole and how that is in comparison with us as individuals on this earth. And I wanted to try to illustrate that the best way possible. So I found something here. Some of you may have seen this already. This is Louise in the Googleplex. Google headquarters. Coming up to San Fran. Western USA, planet Earth, there goes the moon, some asteroids, there's our solar system. Where's the Earth now? I can't even see it. There's Voyager. Coming back, coming out, a few more comets going on. It's a light year away now, so that takes a year for the light to reach that point. Going further and further. Keep going. Oh, there's our galaxy, fine. Milky Way. And then there's some other stars going on. And there's some more galaxies with more planets. There's a supercluster, whatever that is. And then the cosmic web, which is 10 billion light years away, which looks a bit like white noise. So yeah, so that kind of puts it into perspective of where we are and what we are in comparison to everything that exists, to our knowledge. So that's just one thing. Settle with that for a minute. Second thing that I really found fascinating was the fourth dimension, which I'm going to try my best to explain it, but it's very difficult. So for people who don't know, this is a tesseract, which is kind of trippy. What this is the stage up from a cube, apparently. So if you're thinking about dimensions, you've got the first dimension is length, the second dimension is area, third dimension is volume, and the fourth dimension involves time. The best way I can describe it, if anyone's seen Interstellar, it's the bit where he's trying to shout for Murph behind the bookshelf, and he's in what is known as a tesseract, which is a kind of the void between time and space. And if you're really interested, read up on it, because it's very difficult for me to describe straight away, but it ultimately is that dimension that we can't necessarily comprehend as human beings. And this is the point I want to try and make, just considering both of those points within Cosmos, is us as human beings are so very limited with what we perceive as around us. And we think we know everything, but we're so very limited. What we actually are is a mammal that has a brain, that has 5 senses, and those 5 senses try and comprehend the world around us the best that they can. The best way I can describe this, so if you think about optical illusions, what's the first thing you see there? 2 faces? But then there's some music, yeah, is it Mexican? Candlestick going on as well. So if you're thinking about this objectively, that's just an image, right? But everybody sees something different in different ways, and that's where that kind of interpretation comes in. And then there's that dress. I see white and gold, but I know I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that, again, another perfect example, right? But this relays further down to what we do a little bit more as well. So someone might see a Ferrari, for example, and think, gorgeous car, something I would want one day. Look at that, it looks brilliant. Another person, just looking at the exact same thing, will go, oh, that's, it's chauvinistic. I don't ever want that. It's not particularly practical. I can't fit babies in there. I'm never going to go for a Ferrari. But it's the same thing, right? What's right? There is no right. It's just what people perceive it to be. Seth Godin, I'm an admirer of his in regards to some of the work that he does and the books that he writes. He calls these worldviews, and what worldviews are how people perceive certain things to be. So this person here might think owning a Ferrari is the pinnacle, is something that is going to make him better, something he associates himself with, and is how you should live life. That's how he sees it. Seth Godin goes on to say people don't want to change their worldview, they like it, they embrace it, and they want it to be reinforced. So just going back to what I was saying about the whole thing about Cosmos, everything's going around, the processor is your brain, and that processor is biased towards certain things, that guy being Ferraris are brilliant. And ultimately, whether we like it or not, from the capitalism and consumerism and so forth, whatever we think about that, it's what the modern economy is built on. So if you start thinking about things like Gucci, we are tapping into people's worldviews about that is the sort of thing that they want to associate themselves with. Products and services that understand worldviews tend to succeed. A great one there in regards to Christmas. And the ones that don't fail. Zooming back into to our very, very tiny world, I just want to give you that sense of perspective again of us as a species and what we're there for. You can argue that us as a species, the main goal for us is to survive and to make sure the planet that we live on is okay, and we are all okay as individuals, right? Or as a collective, sorry. And one way that we do that is by trading, is by going between independents towards each other. So some person might be great at grocery, some people might be great at cooking, and we work together to do that, and we use an economy and trade to get things done. And that's happened from day dot, and it's happening now just on a digital, more global level, where we are trading between different countries, we're trading digitally on a regular basis. So where do we sit in as advertisers? And this is where I get to my point. We connect the dots. So if you start thinking about, let's say, someone who wants a Ferrari in Southwark in London, so I really want to get a Ferrari. So us as marketers will go, you want a Ferrari? Well, we know someone over there that sells a Ferrari. You should probably go talk to him. So it's very simple, but that's what we do as an industry. Equally, someone might say, I really want to start selling coffee. We'll go, okay, we might know some people with a certain worldview who want to buy your coffee. So we'll give you that information to do that. And ultimately, that is what keeps our economy going, that keeps food on our tables and us all fed. And whatever you think of capitalism and consumerism, that's the way that the modern world is working at the moment. So I go back to the point, am I making a difference? Well, if you think about all of the adverts that we work on individually, absolutely you are making a difference, because you are putting X amount of impressions to X amount of people, and these people are seeing those impressions, seeing what you're doing, and that is having an impact on people's lives. So you are making a difference, there's no doubt about that. The question is, am I making the right difference? So this is talking about how you do the marketing, what sort of things you market to them, okay? So for example, this is something by the NRA. It's an advertising campaign. It says, keep your hands off our guns. So if you're thinking about us and our tiny planet with our little species, do you think that this is going to be progressive and it's going to be cohesive to us? If you've seen this before, this is antibiotics campaign, and yeah, it just shows you how we can do things for good. But it's not just being as directly as antibiotics and guns. This is an advert for chips. Chips are just as important too. They feed people, and McCain keep people in jobs. So that's one thing. But what I like about this is the softer things. So it's starting to encourage cohesion, it's starting to encourage family, and it's starting to break boundaries between certain ethnicities and groups and so forth, to start understanding that we are one species and not trying to kind of segregate. We're breaking barriers by putting this in front of people. So I'm going to finish off by saying that from my perspective, advertising is one of the most powerful tools for change. And it's up to us to use it right. Okay?